Hey guys, today's a video on a topic that I hold near and dear to my heart, and that is anatomy being an excuse for why you can't squat all the way down. If you know me, then you know that I think that's complete BS. I'll tell you why. First and foremost, when you are an infant, when you're a child, when you're a baby, you have full physiologic range of motion. Humans evolved to be able to sit, and by sit, I mean squat. Not sit on a chair, I mean squat, ass to grass, quite literally, bum touching the floor. On that note, I think I mentioned in another video, there are going to be genetic predispositions towards getting tighter hips. Some people are going to be able to do an Asian squat their whole life, whereas others sit for a few years in the first few years of school, and then their hips get glued up, and then they start blaming their anatomy. Anatomy is not the problem. It's your tight hips, your tight calves, your tight feet, everything that is making you unable to squat. The only exception, and by exception I mean you're not an exception, is if you have a anatomical mutation in which your hips literally don't allow you to squat. And in terms of how many people I've met or seen that have that, it's a big old zero. So you're able to squat all the way down. You just need to open up your hips, you need to stop sitting so much, you need to mobilize, you need to control that movement, and you're able to squat all the way down. On the same note, there are going to be differences in hip anatomy, meaning our squats will all look different. They won't all look the same, there's not a one size fits all, but we will all be able to squat all the way down. In terms, another touchy subject is the foot placement in the squat, whether the feet are parallel or turned out or slightly turned out or whatever. The reason why we want feet parallel or very slightly turned out, and by slightly I mean less than 15-degree foot turnout, is because of your ability to generate torque through the ground, keeping a stable hip while you squat. Anything more than 15 degrees and you severely start to lose that ability to create torque in the ground. What's going on here? There you go, sorry, my battery's dying. What do I mean by torque? I mean external rotation torque in the hips. Check one of the beginner videos to refer to see what I'm talking about for that. So we evolved as human beings to be able to squat and to be able to squat for our entire lives. If we're anatomically unable to squat with feet parallel and we have to squat with feet turned out, that ends up collapsing the arches, internally rotating the hip and opening up the knee, and then you end up having hip, knee, and ankle problems as a result of anatomically being stuck with that toe turnout. So it doesn't make sense for us to evolve a hip structure that has to have our feet turn out in our squat. So the fact that you can't keep your feet straight while you're squatting is not a function of anatomy. Again, it's a function of you sitting all day and you not mobilizing and opening up your hips so that you can have full physiologic range of motion and then control over that range of motion when you're squatting. So stop using anatomy as an excuse. It's not an excuse. I'm going to tear you apart. And please start trying to squat with your feet straight. If I see that you're unable to, obviously I'm not going to be dogmatic and say squat your feet straight, squat your feet straight. I'm going to have you turn out so that it's comfortable, but I still want to see that you're trying to create that external rotation torque, that you're trying to get the feet closer and closer together in terms of parallel, and that you're doing the work associated in terms of opening the tissues so that you're able to do that eventually long term. But know that you're able to squat all the way down, you're able to squat all the way down with your feet parallel to each other. It just might take a lot of work, which is not the answer that everyone wants to hear. But if you want to stay away from dysfunction and you want to be able to squat till you're 110 years old, it's going to take a little bit of work and maintenance. If you guys have any questions, if I sped through any of the concepts really quickly, feel free, ask me quick, I'll jump right on it. Have yourselves a good day.